All the feedback matters a tremendous amount, positive and negative.
You can have a tremendous impact in just supporting other creators.
You can be getting double-digit millions of views in a month and not make more than you would make at pretty much any full-time job.
I have things in place now to make sure that I'm getting it right. I was just like so excited to see these guys talking about science and challenging each other basically to get it right. We put so much emphasis on the creator making the thing. There's not nearly enough on the audience supporting it.
For some reason, those titles sound more intriguing than just being clickbait. It's that level of power and strength. It just indicates I am going to talk about something worth your attention.
Hey, welcome to the Create Unknown, the home of Make Something Mean Something. It is TCU's Day. We are here live with a wonderful crowd of patrons on Discord. I am Kevin Lieber. With me, as always, is Matthew Tabor.
Yeah, we do have a good crowd today, despite it coming in a couple hours early. We've just had a busy few days, and Kevin has put the newest Mind Blow up on the YouTubes. And, you know, once that happens, like that's the bulk of your day. You've gotten over the big part of it. And we're like, you know, life feels good. Everything feels good. Let's talk and do the podcast a little bit early. So it's just nice to see so many people jump in despite us jumping the gun on you.
We did. Yeah, it's a nice little pressure relief valve to upload the video, see that there's no catastrophic errors with it, and everybody can just enjoy it and watch it, and you can move on with your life.
Yeah, and especially this one too, because it is the first Mind Blow that is out there for everybody, you know. And if you heard us talk a little bit about it in the last few weeks, yeah, the show is back, and Kevin's put it up on the YouTubes with the support of a whole lot of people who are happy to see Mind Blow back. So they made that happen when it otherwise couldn't. And there's an episode just for them. And now there's an episode back to normal. Everybody gets it on YouTube, and it'll be like that from here on out, right?
Yeah, once a month. And I want to talk a little bit more about because we did a whole podcast about why Mind Blow is dead. I figured we probably should do a little bit on why it's back. So
you necromanced it back from the dead.
I did. That was my Diablo 3 class. Necromancer, brought it back. I also want to mention some of our upcoming guests because we have a full March already booked out. So starting next week, we'll be talking with The Odd Ones Out. Following that,
he's been requested 18,000 times over the last 3 years. So that's a big one to put in the lineup.
Yeah, 18,000 or so. So The Odd Ones Out, and then we'll have Gamer from Mars. So two first-time TCU people, and then a return guest. It's been a while. Oki's Weird Stories, who has done great big things since we last spoke with Oki. A lot of things going on in his life, personal life and YouTube life. So it'll be great to catch up with him. So that's pretty much March mapped out from here. But tonight we need to catch up on some things because we have been really quite busy and we haven't had a moment to talk about it because we've had a lot of great guests recently. So it's time to talk about what you and I have been up to, Mr. Tabor. And I guess we'll start with me and the whole Mind Blow return, which
I was going to say we need to start with you because I barely work.
You barely work?
I don't do. I considered myself retired since about 25. So all I need to do is get enough money for bread and birch beer.
I was going to just say birch beer. Do you even need the bread at this point? I think you're just sustaining.
That's the funny thing is that's what I was going to say. And I'm like, no, you've got to have food to go with it too. And it took me forever to come up with bread. Yeah. That's how not important it is to me.
The sustenance part. Yeah. So, okay. Where to begin on Mind Blow being back? Here's where I really want to begin. I really want to begin with you. Not you, Matt, you, the listener. you, the supporter, you, the Mind Blow fan, because we spend a whole lot of time. We spend this entire podcast talking about the great things that creators do and how to analyze their creative lives and their business decisions and how to be a creator and all of that stuff. Because that's what we do and that's what we think about and talk about full time. What we don't do enough of, and what I'd like to do right now, is just discuss how vitally important it is for the people who support the creator, for the people who go out of their way, who dig into their wallet and say, hey, this is something that I want to see more of, and I'll join something like a Patreon. I'll buy that piece of merch, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. That end of this equation is in many ways more important than the creator end, because without it, how much of the creator end really ends up happening? And I can say with no hesitation that Mindblow being back does not happen without people supporting it. It doesn't. And we can get into that a little bit more about why that is, but I just would like to hear, what your thoughts are on the role of creative supporters and how, we frankly kind of undervalue that, at least when we talk about the creative process.
Yeah, it's hard to talk about in a broad way, which is why we tend not to. But the point that you just made, that the people who watch and listen to things, they have a lot more influence than they realize. They really, truly do. And it can be as part of overarching data. You're one little point in it, and then you influence in the minuscule way that way, to things like comments. Speaking of Mindblow, like, it became a running joke that no matter what you uploaded, the comments were going to be flooded with "Bring Back Mindblow." Well, that did make it something worth considering at a point. Like, hey, I know you say it's dead, and it probably is, but is there a way here to make it viable? Is it possible? And you spent a lot of time coming up with how that could happen, and then you made it happen. Well, that was 100% because of the audience.
It was their heap paradox.
A portion of the audience. Yeah. That's a big deal. And we've talked about comments in the past, going all the way back to talking with Casey Neistat, which was like episode 5 or something. I don't know. But I remember him saying, the critical comments that really sting are the ones that are true. And I am a major believer in comments and taking them seriously. I think they're the best feedback that anybody can have. A lot more than anything else in analytics or the studio, people are taking a moment to tell you what they think. And that could be making a throwaway stupid joke. That can be just plain taking a dump on you. It can be substantial praise or substantial criticism. Whatever it is, something made the person do it. And you have to respect that that's happened, and take into account what they said, even if it's stupid or hard to hear. It really makes a difference. And what percentage do you think is the average on commenters versus views? 0.01%?
0.001%? I don't know. It's little. It's minuscule.
Yeah, it's nothing. Like, as I stumble on this, I'm going to I happen to be in the studio, so I'll look here. About 600 comments on a 200,000 view video. So that's 300 per 100,000. That's not a lot. That ratio is not much. So consider that when you leave a comment, you are doing something that matters when like 999 people out of 1,000 didn't bother. That's an impact. Like, if you can multiply your impact by 10, 50, 100, 1,000 anytime in life, that's a neat cheat code. So anyway, all the feedback matters a tremendous amount, positive and negative. It really determines what people make more of, what they make less of, and what they make at all.
Yeah, and I think that, I believe that probably a lot of people who listen to this podcast might be struggling in some ways with how do I become a creator? How do I become a better creator? How do people notice my content? And all of that stuff is stuff that we love to talk about and encourage in others. But I would also like to say that you can have a tremendous impact in just supporting other creators, whether that is, like you said, leaving a comment, actually hitting the like button, or interacting in some way with the video, or joining a Patreon. So I want to thank people who did join the Mindblow Patreon right out of the gate, because the funds that were generated from that Patreon went directly into, which is what I discussed in the announcement video, hiring people to make that show. Because one of the reasons that we discussed when we talked about why Mindblow stopped a couple of years ago, whenever that podcast was it was not something that I could do by myself anymore. There was so much to it that it was really all consuming, and there was no way for me to continue doing that show and then also pivot into kind of the longer form, deeper dive stuff. You just can't do everything. There's only so much time in the day. You can't make every video. You can't continue every format. Certainly not by yourself.
They're two radically different things too. I mean, if you think about the videos you were making in 2015, 2016, it's like, okay, here's a topic that is foundational to humanity, and I'm going to spend 2 months doing nothing but research on that. And as I'm doing this, I have to figure out like 5 or 6 of the most interesting science and tech things that have happened in the last 48 hours. Like, it's a jarring juxtaposition of those two ideas. And I can't remember if you were doing more than Mindblow, more shows than Mindblow at that same time. But it's really, really tough to do that. So even when I came on, Vibecat says BDP. I can't remember when different formats ended. But even when I came on, it was, Mindblow was just on the way out because it wasn't financially viable to continue at that point. But juggling the two things, the big idea video and then the hyper-focused, highly scientific, which you've got to get right and takes a lot of time and energy to get it right. Oh, those two things are weirdly incompatible.
Yeah, you just cannot do both. So part of what the Patreon is for is that I have hired several people who work on Mindblow, and they only work on Mindblow. They do not work on the deeper dive videos that will continue on vsauce 2, like Snitches Get Stitches. So there are kind of like 2 teams now for vsauce 2. There's like the Mindblow team, and then there's the long form team. And I'm kind of in the middle of, obviously, both of those things, continuing to
So you're saying
host.
You play for both teams.
I do. I play offense and defense.
Okay, you're a 60-minute man then.
Yeah, I'm Joe Polidnikov, or who's the football player that you love that played offense and defense?
Oh, Chuck Bednarik.
That's who it is.
He was the last Concrete Charlie because he sold concrete in the off season. But yeah, just look up The Hit on YouTube.
Say his name again.
Ends Frank Gifford's life.
What was it?
Oh, Chuck Bednarik.
Chuck Bednarik.
But if you type NFL The Hit, that'll be good enough because it's so significant that it can just be called The Hit, and it's going to be the first result.
So Mindblow is back because there are people being paid to bring it back, and they're being paid through the Patreon. So thank you very much to all of the people who did that. There definitely were also a lot of comments that I saw that were like, aren't you really rich? Why do you need a Patreon? Don't you have like millions of dollars with all of your YouTube subscribers? And the answer is no. There's definitely a lot of misunderstanding about, well, first of all, YouTube subscribers do not translate to views. And they haven't for a really long time. It's not even anymore. Like, they haven't for years. Yeah. It's been a while. It's been like...
Would you say a decade?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while. It's been a while. It's been, probably like 8 years since YouTube subscribers mattered. It's been a long time. You know, it's funny. Way back in the day, somebody could say, I have 2 million subs, and that would indicate a hell of a lot of people watch everything that I do. Now, if somebody says they have 2 million subs, my first question in my head is like, do they still care about what you do? Do they still watch you?
like cool. Like it's an indication that at one point you built something very good, but it's no indication that that thing is functioning right now at that level.
That's totally true. It is totally true. Yeah. It does indicate that a whole lot of people at some point decided that they like what you do. But
that's a
huge
huge achievement.
Yeah. No, it's an amazing achievement. It does not translate to continued success on the platform, which is, I think, something that I understand. People who aren't creators or, aren't on YouTube all day or thinking about this stuff don't realize that. Like, that's fine. To like sort of a casual YouTube viewer, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that someone with millions of subscribers isn't a millionaire, but it's just not how it works. It really isn't.
I don't know what you've been sipping, but you've got it all wrong. It's time to commit to the leaf. We've embraced the smoothness and surprising pick-me-up that tea provides. I literally drink it all day long, nearly a gallon a day, and it powers me through research, script writing, and forums on websites that I refuse to name here. But we don't drink normie NPC tea. We drink cultured and refined anime tea from the Dragon's Treasure. Kevin still likes the gunpowder green called Space Cowboy, and I've sampled nearly 40 Dragon's Treasure teas at this point. Lately, I've been slamming black teas like Kentucky Bourbon and liquefied Berserk Despair. Scottish Breakfast is deep and peaty, and I smooth it over with Sebastian's Morning Earl Grey, which has the best vanilla cream taste I think I've ever had in a cup. Give me a pot of that with a hot meatball sub from Sal's Pizza and Brooks Barbecue Chicken to wash down my last meal on death row. I highly recommend the sampler packs. You'll want to try everything just like I did. I literally have not had one tea that I wouldn't be happy to reorder. The Dragon's Wings membership fuels new tea experimentation, and the Tea of the Month Club provides a regularly scheduled surprise. And when you order from the Dragon's Treasure using code CREATE, you'll get 10% off your order. That's 10% off using the code CREATE at thedragonstreasure.com. The link's in the description. I'm going to put something in the chat because I still have this tab up. So recently I was working on a channel, and that channel had a banger of a short. That short hit 2 million views last night. 2 million views is a lot of views, especially in 3 weeks. And this reminds me of the Psychic Pebbles conversation we had about the Get Out of My Car animation. 2 million views on this short has netted $112.48.
Sweet.
Now, that's a phone bill. Like, that's awesome. It's $112 that they didn't have. But the 2 million view on a short like that doesn't happen very often for anybody. How many do you think you had? Probably 6 or 7 of those on vsauce too, Kevin, that were like multi-million?
A handful, yeah.
Yeah.
A couple of million views, but yeah, say you have, even
So
if you have
scale that down to
one of those a month, then it's, wow, $100 a month.
Yeah, so you're really truly looking at like paying your phone and internet in best case scenario. But scale this down and say you get $100,000 on every $100,000 views on every single short you make. That's $5. That's 1/20th of what I'm showing here. And that works out to like $5.60 for 100,000 views on a short. Now, obviously, videos carry quite a bit more money than shorts, but the point here is you can be getting double-digit millions of views in a month. Get 50 million views in a month, and not make more than you would make at pretty much any full-time job.
Yeah, no less be able to pay other people, hire other people.
That's right.
Like,
and let's say you get your 50 million views on shorts to make $2,000 a month, and you're doing 100% of it yourself. Congratulations.
So real quick, TikTok is so much worse for people who don't know about TikTok. I had a video go pretty viral recently, got 1 million views in a few days. Over 1 million views. It's at like 1.1 or something like that. That 1.1 million views has translated to $18.
Heyo.
$18. So
that is grim.
You cannot pay any bill with $18. It's kind of like a lunch.
You can get a streaming service. No, that's like Netflix. That's the Hulu, ESPN, and Disney Plus bundle. That's something.
Right. Okay. You just paid for Hulu.
No ads. That's right. Yeah. That would be so funny if they, instead of doing the dollars, you got like gift certificates for things, and you get 1 million views and get an email with a printable thing that's like, redeem this for 1 month of the streaming service of your choice. And that's just putting it in real context would just be the most disappointing thing ever.
It is. But people don't know this, and you know, creators never really talk about it. I think for the most part, whenever you do hear about some sort of YouTuber's money situation, it is because they just bought a Lamborghini or something, and it's some 1% of the 1% of the 1% who do make a boatload of money every month. And
yeah, the rice gums are a little less common than they used to be.
But the point,
the adpocalypse certainly changed that, but now it's even grimmer.
Well, the other thing is that this is really inside baseball, but we're playing baseball right now, so you're just going to have to deal with it. There was a change on YouTube over the summer that tanked old videos, just made them like irrelevant. So one thing that was actually really helpful for longtime creators was having old videos continue to bring in some AdSense. So there was like a decent base. Even if some of your newer videos didn't do well, it could be supported by maybe a banger that you made 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that continues to churn and bring in revenue. That kind of stopped in a lot of ways for a lot of creators I've spoken with over the last 8 months or so. And that has made a big difference. That has made a tremendous difference to a lot of people's consistent revenue and income streams. So I think that you're going to be seeing a lot more creators lean more heavily into things like alternate revenue streams, Patreon, merch, whatever it is, coffee, whatever it is.
Yep. And think about the longtime creators who have a decent back catalog, and they're big enough to have people who work with them. AdSense was the number one way to know, well, we're roughly going to have this much coming in each month. That can pay for the studio space, that can pay for the editor, whatever your nut is, whatever your baseline costs are, they would be covered in relation to something like AdSense. And so with that tanking, now you've got to make money on every video in such a way that you can continuously employ people. And that is a massively difficult game. That is hard. It's really hard, and it makes it extremely difficult to attract top talent in the first place. Because look, like reasonably talented people really want stability. You know, if they're the kind of person where they can choose between jobs, you know, they're competitive in that sense. Well, they want the one that pays well and is decently stable. Nobody wants to wake up to an email that's like, well, the algorithm changed. Now you need a new job.
Yeah, everyone's fired.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So the effects of this really do hit the channels that have done the right thing and built out good staff, good people. The revenue is being so fickle that it's really hard to maintain that stuff. So you can get a little sense of stability from something like a Patreon or channel subscriptions or merch drops, whatever works for, you know, whoever's doing it. But when you do have something you can count on a little bit, you can make the right decisions and the right adjustments based on those expectations.
And people get to keep their jobs. I mean, that's really like kind of a big thing to me is we've seen a lot of layoffs in a lot of tech sectors over the past year, a lot. And not obviously not just on the YouTube side, but in many like tech entertainment companies. So the ripple effects of this have been like far reaching. And while people are being laid off, vsauce 2 is expanding. I'm going the opposite direction. Okay. We are putting out more content. I've hired 4 more people, actually, 4 people in the past 2 months as part of, Mindblow and also just getting more content and different types of content on the channel. So it's all good news on the vsauce 2 front. It's a lot more work, but it's all work that I think I know that I'm very excited about. And I meant to say, I think that the audience is really excited about as well.
Yeah, and I feel in a really weird, counterintuitive way that it's easier even though there's more work. It's like there's perpetual momentum, and that is so different than just like grinding away from nothing at the beginning of each day. You wake up and there are people who have done different things overnight, or there's a project that continues from yesterday, and there's more to do, but it's happening as the stream is flowing really nicely. And to me, it's just easier to work in that environment. You know, there's always something to do. That is such a much better place to be in than like constantly thinking, what am I going to do today?
Mm-hmm.
That's brutal. It's a terrible, terrible spot to be in. So I'd rather be overwhelmed and figure out which of these things have to be done today, first, whatever, than sitting there and inventing your life day after day. So I like it.
Yeah. Making things up from scratch every day. There's a certain amount of freedom to it, but there's also a certain amount of just nightmare to that.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, it's awesome when you want to do it, but when you have to do it, it sucks.
mm-hmm.
That is the worst, is to have to sit down and pound out something creative, whether it's simply an idea or working on something like a script or an edit. When you have to do that, that's brutal. It is just, it grates on your soul after a while.
Mm. Yeah. So that's why we create systems, we hire people and they know what their role is and all of that sort of thing. And that was another part of bringing back Mindblow that was so important to me. And I talked about this on the Why It Ended podcast is getting it right, getting the science right.
Mm-hmm.
I have, things in place now to make sure that I'm getting it right. Scott Frank is doing the research. Yeah, he's doing the research and the writing, which is something he's done professionally for years at a very, very high level, including, on the Emmy award-winning Could You Survive the Movies?
I was going to say, we're not just saying this is a guy who's pretty good at what he does. Like, no, he won the highest award in his field, really. And it's one that we don't have. I mean, he's excellent. He is very, very good.
Yep. And Vic Grimes, who's doing the editing, also is currently at university studying chemistry. So, he is eyeball deep all day in advanced science classes. So he has a scientific mind and eye on the editing side. And then Jeff Barrett, who is doing the fact checking, who, by the way, I don't know if you looked into like what Jeff does. He makes these like astronaut cards that I think you would be really into.
Really?
Yeah. You'll have to check it out after the podcast. But he is super into space travel, hardcore space travel nerd. And he's doing the fact checking, and it was delightful. Let me tell you, seeing him and Scott go back and forth about like the density of water, and it's just, I was just like a kid in a candy store, so excited to see these guys just talking about science and challenging each other basically to get it right, which is so important for a show like Mindblow, because there were things that I got wrong, and 118 episodes, there were mistakes made. Let me tell you.
Yeah,
that happened.
There are times when you just phrase something not even wrong, but just slightly like 1% different than perfect. And in some of these topics, that is the difference between it being right and wrong, and then there are enough people watching who know that difference, and they're going to let you know that they know that difference.
Mm-hmm.
We want to help you make something and mean something. And we say that phrase all the time because when you're making something and you know it means something, even if it's just to you, that's when you feel pretty good about what you're creating. The support for the Create Unknown in recent weeks has been incredible. Animators, artists, musicians, YouTubers, aspiring filmmakers, comedians, it is crazy how talented everybody in this community is. Consider joining the Create Unknown Patreon. Every dollar that comes through goes straight into the podcast and its community. That means more highlights videos. It means a big Minecraft project that's on the way. And eventually we'd like to manufacture custom piss bottles so you never have to leave your battle station. And being a patron unlocks participation in all of our live recordings. You've seen the roster of guests we've had. Having access to their minds is a unique opportunity. You can go to patreon.com/thecreateunknown or click the link that's in the description. Every little bit helps, and your support means absolutely everything to us. Patreon.com/thecreateunknown, links in the description. We appreciate you, Space Cowboys.
Yeah, so today the first episode was made public. There was a previous episode that was Patreon only and will remain Patreon only. That was just a little reward, a little nugget for the early adopters of the Patreon. So the first public one went live today. I'm really happy with it. The response has been great. People are very excited. It's amazing how people miss stuff, meaning like you can say a thing, you can tweet a thing, you can make a whole video about a thing, you can do a community post, you can do a Facebook post, and people are busy. They miss this stuff. So I've been, seeing a lot of comments from people who hadn't heard about the announcement of it coming back, who are just, they're blindsided by a new Mind Blow episode, which is actually very funny.
That's got to be
to
cool.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. So like one group gets to wake up like it's Christmas morning. They get their presents they've been looking forward to. And then another group wakes up like in the middle of July and it's Christmas morning. They didn't even see it coming.
It's like a fever dream. I can't even believe that it's real. It's a mirage in the desert.
They've won the lottery and they didn't even know they bought a ticket.
Yeah. So Mind Blow is back. There'll be a new episode every month for now, as the Patreon grows and can allow for 2 a month. There will be 2 a month, but for now it'll be 1. Mm-hmm. And again, I just want to put a button on how I started this whole thing, which is just to thank people for supporting it because they are directly responsible for it coming back. And I want to make that clear. I don't want people to think like, I don't know if it matters, does it make a difference whether or not I join this thing or not? The answer is yes, it makes a difference. It 100,000% makes a difference. It's the difference between it happening or not happening. That is the difference.
And it's the same with this podcast. I mean, we hit spells where we could only keep going because of the Patreon support and the Discord support. I mean, it functioned exactly the same way as Kevin's talking about with Mind Blow, where it's 100% an endeavor that everybody else keeps going. If that disappeared, then you have to start asking questions and making really difficult trade-offs, where it's like, how much do you want to do a thing when you could write another vsauce 2 script? Or just anything else, you have to really think hard about ranking the things in your life, right? And the more people participate in any kind of community, like Kevin said, whether it's simply hitting the like button, watching a video all the way through, leaving a comment, or anything greater than that, like he's getting on support with Mind Blow, all of it makes it easier to continue to do that thing. And last week we talked about the good things, how we like to hear the good things that are happening with people in the community. Like that's part of that process too. It makes it that much easier to just want to pound this show out every week, and we just haven't even hit points unless something is disastrous in our lives, which that happens and there's no way around that. But we haven't had a point where there wasn't something like that. And we were just like, we don't want to do the podcast this week. That has literally never happened. Mm-hmm. If it was crickets on everything all the time, well, it might be tempting to think, well, what's the point? So letting people know that you watch a thing, listen to a thing, just has a surprisingly strong effect and much, much greater than you would think.
And it's an integral part of the process. I guess that was kind of like the greater point that I wanted to make, is that we put so much emphasis on the creator making the thing. There's not nearly enough emphasis on the audience supporting it and supporting it directly and being really responsible for allowing the creator to make a thing at all to begin with. So it's an incredibly important integral role that you play just by being a supporter, by being a fan. It cannot be overstated. It's just that intrinsically tied together with the things that come out and the things that you like to come out. And I know that there is like a constant, and believe me, this is going to get worse, guys. Like the constant like new thing to subscribe to, or the new thing to support, or the new thing to try to help out. Like that's not going to end. That will get more complex. So people are
and consider. Oh, sorry. I wanted to say, consider what Kevin's saying, and consider that he's Kevin / vsauce2 / the create unknown. Think about all of this in the context of somebody like Rusty Cage, whose monetization opportunities are a fraction of what a brand safe creator is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Kevin's not making a guillotine and threatening to, you know, teach your child how to lose a finger. His videos aren't going red. Whereas if one popped up for Rusty that was green, he would have a heart attack. He'd think he'd been hacked because he was actually getting monetized. But yeah, so as grim as we're making it sound now, it's always worse than you think. And for many, many people who we know and we've had on this show and who we love, people whose content we like and we like them, they are in even more dire circumstances. So yeah, when you see something like the Patreon bits, I don't know if I can even name at this point somebody who's doing it as a money grab. It's because it is a part of their process.
That's right. Yeah, it is. And like I was going to say, it will get more complicated. You'll have to pick and choose, you know, who it is that you can afford, because look, everybody's hurting. Everybody's wallet is hurting. This isn't a YouTuber problem. This is a global economy problem. So, you know, everyone is going to have to decide, you know, who it is they can support and in what way and at what level that they can support. But I think that you
can always watch videos. Just like
it helps.
That was something that you replied to so many people on the Bring Back Mind Blow video and the comments about this, saying like, I'd love to support this, but I can't for X, Y, and Z. The response there was exactly accurate, that, you know what, all you need to do is watch these videos. That is, like, if you do that, you're doing
here's a suggestion. Here's like a really specific suggestion. Okay. If you really want to support a creator, even if you don't have time to watch that video right now, click on it anyway when it popped up, because if you don't, and you say I'll get to it later, all of a sudden it falls out of your suggested, and then you just forget. You forget that you even liked them in the first place. So just click the thing and hit mute if you're at work and you can't listen to it. And that helps. Right. Believe me, that helps more than you would ever imagine. Just clicking when you see it pop in your feed right away. Oh, I don't have time for this now. I don't want to lose it. Just click it. And then maybe you can go back and watch it later if you really want to see it. But man, I have seen that comment quite often, in which people are like, I thought you stopped making videos. How come you don't make videos anymore? And it's like, I've been making videos. Right. You haven't been clicking on them is the problem. Like this is a self-report right here. If you say that YouTube's not showing you my videos, what you're saying is you didn't click on quite a few of them, and now YouTube doesn't think you like it anymore. That's just how that works. Mm-hmm. So there's a really easy, free, cheap way to support someone that you like, is even if the latest video doesn't interest you, just click on it, let it run in the background, put it on mute. Maybe the next one will be better and you'll like it. I don't know. But ignoring it, definitely, it'll be hidden from you sooner than you think. It'll drop off from what YouTube thinks you want to watch.
Yeah, there's a crazy downward spiral in that type of content being served to you. If you do anything that indicates you're not into it, well, they listen. The algorithm responds to what you give it. And if you skip over something, then why would they think when you skip a video, oh, what he really means by this is that he's actually very interested in it and wants to see the next one instead? No. It's like, no, the person is not into this. They think it sucks. We'll give them something that doesn't suck.
We'll give them something that they'll click on right now, because that's
right.
what we want as the YouTube algorithm. We want you to click on a thing and watch it and stay on the website. A couple of
and they want to make people happy by giving them content they like too.
They just want you to click the thing and watch it. They don't care what you think. They don't care if you hate it. Did you sit there and watch it? They're happy. There were a couple of suggestions. Watch later is one. Wiffle Butter says in the chat, watch later or a playlist. Or we'll just watch a few seconds of it so it shows up in the watch history, and then you could just go to your watch history and then find it there again. There are a lot of tricks here, and I think that it's worth considering doing some of those to support creators because it really does help. Every little bit helps. And the most obnoxious thing to me, can I just say, and I felt this way for a dozen years now, is what
the hate flow through you.
It's just a nitpick, and I'm an idiot for caring. But when the YouTuber like begs people to smash that like button, even if they do it in like a really cute, clever way, I just seethe. There's something inside me where I'm like, my toes curl, and it annoys me at like a visceral level that I cannot really rationalize. I just don't like it.
I know why I don't like it.
Why don't you like it?
Because I explicitly explained why I didn't like it the other day, so it's fresh on my mind. And it came up like this channel had that kind of outro on real, the full length videos for a long time. So, if you like this, share it, click like, subscribe, all that stuff. And it just hit me. It's like, are you suggesting that whoever's watching this has absolutely no clue how YouTube works? And this happened too, because I was driving my mom somewhere and she told me to take a right coming up. Now this was to go to the local gym in town. I had to drop her off for a thing. And I was like, I've lived here for most of my 40 years. This is a town the size of a postage stamp. You know how many times I've taken this turn to go to this exact place? What makes you think that I need you to suggest to me right now that I have to take the right coming up? And it's the same. I was trying to be like Seinfeldian over-analysis funny about it when I was complaining to her about it, but to me, it's the same feeling with the like and subscribe. It's like, why don't you just say, I have so much contempt for the person watching this that even though they've made it to the end of my video, which hopefully was informative and complex and good and entertaining, whatever, I need to tell them exactly how YouTube works, because they are just way too dumb to know that if they like it, they need to click the thing that everybody calls the like button. They got to hear it from me one more time. Like, this is the stupidest thing in the world that anybody in 2023 would have to be reminded of this. How many times have we heard parents say that like their kid will, their 5-year-old will do something goofy and then say like, don't forget to like and subscribe in real life. Like, it's ingrained in the human experience at this point. You do not need to say it in a video.
Thank you very much, Matt, for the rant. It was absolutely beautiful, and you're totally wrong. That's the problem. Yes, you actually are completely wrong. Yes.
You're wrong.
No.
And you're dumb.
No, because
you're abusing me.
It works. That's why they do it. That's why they do it. Because you have to implant things into people's brains. So they might know that there's a like button, but until you remind them to hit it,
the prompt, right?
They need the prompt. There's a phrase called call to action. That's what it is. It's a call to action.
Well,
and it works.
I have a question about this. So one reason I don't like it in that production sense is because you're taking, let's say, 10 seconds at the end of a video, and people know once they start hearing that part, they know the video's over, and you get people clicking off, clicking to something else.
They do it at the beginning.
I was going to say, like, is the value of that call to action negated by reducing retention on the end like that?
They do it in the beginning now.
But yeah, if it's at the beginning, then that question is. Sorry, Boss Thread says, don't forget to like and subscribe every time he flushes. That's how I feel about it. Yeah.
Vibecat does ask in the chat if the like button does anything anymore, and the answer is yes. This is what it does. Yeah. It gives YouTube a signal that you like that creator's content. That's what it does. Mm-hmm. And YouTube, I have sat in meetings with YouTube, algorithm engineers that have explained that the way that YouTube works is based upon signals that you give it. So if you give it a signal like hitting the like button, well, now YouTube says, oh, okay, I can use that as data to now suggest more of this content from that person. There are other ways to give signals. That's just one of them, but it's one, and it's an important one. If it wasn't an important one, they would get rid of it. But it helps the YouTube algorithm understand that you do like that content, and it'll show you more of it.
I refuse to concede on this, and I will pull out whatever insults I have to when I run out of arguments. The best I could do before was say you're dumb, because I couldn't think of a real response. But Wiffle Butter said something that I want to keep going on. It says he especially winces when a person does the call to action before a video ends because they don't know at that point whether they want to like or subscribe. And when you mentioned putting that at the beginning, that popped up in a video I was watching maybe a week ago. And it was the first time I'd seen that channel. It was a reloading channel for ammunition. And that's exactly what I thought. What Wiffle Butter just said is like, they told me what the video is going to be about, and then did the CTA pitch. And I thought, well, I'd love to do this. I'd love to subscribe to this channel, but I have no idea right now if I like it. I haven't even seen the video. And so I wonder if there's a less is more thing. Like inside me, I think you should try to make content that's good enough that you don't have to do this CTA. I think it's a cheap CTA. It's that thing where nobody wants to be sold to. And that's why, Kevin, like you and I have problems with hearing this thing. It annoys the hell out of us for completely different reasons. Wiffle Butter gets the confusion on the...
Mostly the same reasons, really. Mostly the same reasons.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with...
It's all the same.
Yeah, I don't disagree with your distaste. Yeah. I started this conversation by saying I had a distaste.
Yeah, no, it's all roughly the same there. And I feel like you should pretend this whole thing doesn't exist. And it's like nobody likes to be sold to, but everybody likes to buy. So make content that's good enough that somebody says, that was good and I want to see more of it. And they click like, they click subscribe, whatever it is. And you just focus on making the content that's going to generate that reaction from them, rather than having this almost strangely obligatory call to action. And I really like that you've never done that in vsauce 2 videos. You just haven't. And I think that's a major strength of your approach on it. You put a tremendous amount of time into making each video very, very good. And that is your push to like and subscribe rather than asking directly.
I know. My point just though is that it does work. And that's why people continue to do it. If it didn't work, they would stop doing it. And I'm going to show you in the episode chat right now a nice example of this. If I could find the episode
Boss Red says he'll ignore a CTA like it's a check engine light. Yeah, I agree completely.
Okay.
I don't.
Oh, this is the other point that I wanted to make, is that you, Boss Threads, Vibecat, me, we are the minority on this. I think there's a minority of people who find it annoying because we have like a certain neurotic temperament about it. And
well, we're not like 16-year-old girls either.
We are,
we
are not
really
16.
Generally.
Thank you finally for admitting that on this podcast, that we are not 16-year-old girls. Listen, look at my example here. So here is a video by vsauce 2 called Math Caught a Serial Killer. 1.4 million views. Very successful video. Very proud of it. 61,000 likes. That's a lot of likes.
It's pretty good, yeah.
Now, I will show you a video from the very, very popular Mr. Ballin. I screenshot that wrong. Hold on.
This is a terrifying true story that inspired Candyman. 1.6 million views in 3 days. That's pretty good in 3 days.
Okay. Now, Mr. Ballin has a very, very funny way of asking people to hit the like button. He changes it in every video. He creates like a new narrative around like the like button. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but it'll, he'll invent like a little story about how like, the like button fell down a well or something. And in order to save him, you have to hit him to like, he's going to drown if you don't hit the like button and save him.
I like that.
Okay.
It reminds me of internet history. Ooh, yeah.
105,000 likes on Mr. Ballin's video. Yeah. So that is 44,000 more likes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
like 60-70% more.
It's a whole lot more likes because.
See, I like that though. That offers something valuable and entertaining to the viewer by telling that little story. And it's like the way we've talked about Internet Historian doing ads for things like Raid Shadow Legends that people have seen 10,000 times, but he makes it part of his content. He makes it worth watching. Like the first time he really did that, I enjoyed the ad as much as his actual video. So for him, he's turned it into something that truly is valuable for the viewer. And it sounds like, this guy does the same thing. That I don't mind. If you can come up with a charming way of involving the like or subscribe, then I'm for it. I'm being entertained whether I want to click those buttons or not. But if you're just asking, God, what's the difference between that? It would be a funny skit, just going through a neighborhood and knocking on doors like you're an unsolicited salesman. And when people answer, you just ask them to like and subscribe. That's the same thing. It's going to go very poorly.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just wrap this like button thing up by saying that it does matter to the creator if you like it. It's not something where it doesn't matter. It does matter, even if it's just to giving the algorithm a signal to show you more of that creator's work. Whether or not it helps disseminate that video to new audiences, I have no idea. It might. I don't know that.
I think it does. Because I think it's telling, like, I think the algorithm can look at an individual user and say a person with all these characteristics, all of this watch history, all of this data likes this video. Then it can find similar people to serve that video to, and they're likely to like and subscribe. I mean, so I do think it's one more piece of information that will help get the video to other people. Yeah.
Yeah. So it does matter. Do we want to start a whole new conversation at this point about titles? It might not even be that long of a conversation, but I
think we can.
There's something I've noticed with titles lately that I've already mentioned to you. So this is not me, dropping like a new thought on you out of the blue, but I personally have.
Bold of you to think I paid attention.
Oh, that's a good point. So hopefully you've forgotten and now it'll be fresh information. I have this feeling, I have this little, I don't know, hypothesis or just thought that YouTube titles have kind of devolved. They've reverted back to like a 2013 Buzzfeed clickbait article level in the last year or so. Like this is like a new trend. In the last year or so, I personally feel as though for some reason, maybe it's just because there's an oversaturation and there's more competition and you really, really, really have to hook viewers in a way and get them to click that you didn't have to, 3 years ago. But I have noticed a whole lot of what I would consider like the BuzzFeed golden era of clickbait being used all the time now by top creators. The types of titles that are like, this one trick will save your marriage. or like, this one, or I went to this gas station in Germany and you won't believe what happened next. Like that type of title has seemed to have a serious resurgence lately.
Yeah, I haven't noticed that much because of the type of YouTube I watch, which is really specific. Like all the videos I watch are highly specific, like it's a review of a product or a tool or something. So you obviously can't have a title that's like, you're going to love this hammer. Like it's going to be like, here's how this hammer holds up. It is very specific with the model. So I don't see a lot of the stuff that you're talking about. But people do seem much more comfortable with it because a while ago that had become schlocky. It had become that one weird trick. Click here to meet cougars in your area looking for you. Yeah, it was almost like a game that nobody wanted to play anymore. It's like, no, just tell me what the thing is so I can click on it or pass. For whatever reason, people seem to be okay with it again. And I don't understand that. I don't know how it can ebb and flow in that way. It's such a strange phenomenon to me because I cannot come up with why it could happen. Now, Ducky says in the episode chat that the YouTube guru videos advise this kind of thing because it has worked really well for Mr. Beast and the tone that he's set on YouTube. Do you think that that is so pervasive that there's been like a trickle down in how people look at all titles?
Probably. But let me look at Mr. Beast's titles real quick and see if he does what the silver bullet that I'm about to drop. I don't think that Mr. Beast does. So I think I will disagree. Yes, Mr. Beast does not do this. This is the silver bullet, and it's one word. This. 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 That is the word that I am seeing used in YouTube titles absolutely everywhere in a way that I didn't see a few years ago. Because like you said, that was at one point considered schlocky. It was considered clickbait. It was considered cheap.
Annoying as hell.
Yeah. It's considered a really cheap way to get clicks. And then we had this like renaissance of titles that were very specific, like the Banach-Tarski paradox, or,
Right.
like that's a really specific title. You know exactly what this video is about. And I'm going to read some titles from somebody who I think we all like. So this is not me, throwing somebody under the bus or crapping on someone. This is somebody that I think everybody generally likes. But man, he's been doing this lately. Maybe he's been doing it for a while. But using this, Moist Critical. So Moist Critical's titles, let me just read some of them. I can't believe I'm allowed to do this. This invisible house is horrible. No YouTuber should ever do this. This YouTuber is in danger. Why is this happening so often? Like I could just go down the list. This is what I'm talking about. And again, I like Charlie. I like his content. Yeah. This is not crapping on him. I'm just making an observation about this.
For some reason, those titles sound more intriguing than just being clickbait. So even though they have that same phrasing as the cruddy clickbait of the past, they just come off as being interesting. And it seems like a really subtle difference. And I don't quite know how it happens. I don't know what makes one work and the other not work. But like a YouTuber should never do this. I don't feel like I'm being lured into that so much as if you want to find out about some weird thing, click this. Well, maybe I do, maybe I don't. But I don't feel like I've been lured in by it. And that I think that's the difference on clickbait stuff is you're promised something that you don't get. And those titles, his videos deliver on those 100%.
That's the Mr. Beast lesson. That's the Mr. Beast lesson, though, is what you just said is the real Mr. Beast lesson, is that it's not clickbait if you deliver on the title. Mm-hmm. So when the title is, $100,000 to the person who doesn't leave this square first or whatever, as long as that happens in the video, well, it's not clickbait. That's what the video is about. I'm going to go through another person again. So I want to make it really clear that this is a type of titling that I'm thinking about for vsauce 2 now because it's working well. So I'm not crapping on these.
You're not looking down on it.
I'm not looking down on it. So I'll give you another example of someone that we all like who's doing this, just to re-emphasize that I'm not looking down on it. I find it really interesting. Tom Scott. We all like Tom Scott. Tom Scott makes without question, some of the best YouTube videos of all time, really. Yeah. Tom Scott is a legend of YouTube, flat out.
He's on the Mount Rushmore.
Like, no questions asked. No one would argue that. Okay, Tom Scott's new video. This is impossible, but New Zealand is trying anyway. This roller coaster doesn't stop automatically. This river can be switched on and off. This electric ferry uses a very long extension cord. This is what I'm talking about. So I haven't heard anybody talk about this. It's just something that I have been noticing, and I wanted to throw it out here on the podcast because this is the place to do it. Now I think this might be one of those things where now that I have thrown it out into the ether, everyone's going to start noticing it. It's like when you buy a new car and then you just see that car all over the place, or you learn a new word and all of a sudden you hear that word all the time. Let me know if you guys see, we'll just call it this titling. I don't know. I don't know what the word for it is.
I think I can make this deeper than it should be.
Okay.
That word functions grammatically as a determiner. That's the grammatical term for this in that context is a determiner. And it's something that changes or sets up a noun. Okay. And having a strong determiner in the title might be the rule here. I don't know if it has to be this. It's just, this is usually a very strong way to do it. So, saying, I don't know, if you have a bunch of bananas, saying that you have 7 bananas, 7 is a determiner there, but 7 that doesn't make the phrase strong, does it? You know, it's like, no, there's just 7 bananas. But in the context, from everything that you just described, you would only be saying this if there were a really good reason for it. You know, this roller coaster doesn't stop automatically. Well, it suggests that there's a story there worth telling. So I think that if there's a determiner in the title that makes whatever noun it's affecting intriguing, suggesting, here's the thing, like the moist critical titles are exactly the same with this. The YouTubers, it comes at the end on this one, but like no YouTuber should ever do this. It's like, well, this must be high stakes if nobody should ever do it. And it makes it serious. And so nailing the determiner on this might be the rule.
Okay. Determiner titles. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I'm trying to think of it in other contexts. Yeah, I mean, it really is the basis of that, you know, this one weird trick. It separates the thing as being something worth your attention for a minute. You know, check out this car chase. You're not saying check out, you know, go on the internet and find a video of a car chase. You'll probably like it. It will probably be entertaining. Car chases are fun. Go look up car chase in Google and enjoy yourself. No, it's like, check out this crazy car chase. A dude gets thrown from his vehicle 200 feet and like slides across the interstate. It's nuts. It's that level of power and strength and action and whatever goes into the title. And it just indicates I am going to talk about something worth your attention. And I think Tom Scott's titles show that. I think Moist Criticals show it. BuzzFeed wasn't doing it, were they? Like those BuzzFeed titles had the same structure. They had some of the same words, but I don't think the function was there. It was much weaker and a little bit bait and switchy, where they were promising you something worth your attention. And then at the end, it was like, you know, take this quiz to find out which Happy Days character you are. You know, it's like, no, these are not the same stakes and that's not the same payoff. So I think what these guys are doing really well is establishing those stakes in the title and then delivering on them.
And that was the great thing that Mr. Beast cracked on YouTube. Like, the Mr. Beast is the king of this, is he really was the first person at an incredibly high level to pay off his clickbait. So that it no longer was clickbait. And, you know, we don't really have another word for it, so I don't know what else to call it. But the other thing so 2 things. I will amend my previous statement and say that the titles haven't devolved. They have evolved into the Mr. Beastification of YouTube, which is paying off incredibly clickable titles. So now we've gotten to a point where we can deliver on that, and it's no longer clickbait. But
I said,
well, real quick, let me throw out what the difference is here in titling, because I think that 3 years ago, Tom Scott could have made "This Roller Coaster Doesn't Stop Automatically." The title would be "The Roller Coaster That Doesn't Stop Automatically."
That's right.
The roller coaster that doesn't stop automatically. That's the title.
These mean the same thing.
They mean the same thing, but it's not as interesting.
But they're not. You're right. They're not the same title at all.
It doesn't work as well. It's not as clicky. Say like,
right.
And holy cow, do I not understand why? One sounds like you have to be interested in it ahead of time, and the other one sounds like you need to click to find out about it.
Yeah, and otherwise you won't. If you don't watch this video, you're not going to know.
There's an element of mystery in this.
Yeah, there's definitely an intrigue there that, thinking on some of the other types of content that have worked really well, like list titles were really effective in the past. And I think that was because it served a similar function where I don't know. I can't think of one right now, but let's say
Matthew Santoro.
No, I want to use examples that are good YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Right. So no, but he would do like
that was his channel though, 10, man. 6 million subscribers based on 40. Here's his most recent video: 44 creepy facts you'll never forget. He's the king of listicle.
Yeah. I think that when there were things that were like the 7 creepiest murders of all time or something like that, you could hear that title and be intrigued by it because it's like, holy shit, there are 7 of these. One of them would be interesting, and I'm going to get 7. I think that kind of worked back in the day because it did raise the stakes a little bit. Whereas I hear 44 and that's comical to me. Be like, what was the title again? The 44 what?
It is. I'm making me pull it back up again. 44 creepy facts you'll never forget.
Yeah, that's like the kind of title that I would see at a book fair, a scholastic book fair, on like a shitty paperback.
And you will forget them. I'm sorry, you're not remembering 44 creepy facts. No one is remembering 44 of those. It's not happening. It's not happening.
Boss said 38 facts you won't retain. You see, I might click that if it was like 8 facts you won't retain, and in parentheses, I dare you. But they would have to be things that were perfectly forgettable. So no, I think there are ways to do some of this where you promise something big in a really subtle way and then deliver on it. And the lists definitely delivered on this because you would get however many of the top whatever. But yeah, we're in a different era of it now. And it's extended to all sorts of content. And, Kevin, on the video that you're about to release in maybe a week or so, you had some title suggestions, and I wasn't sold on those because they had similar phrasing to this. But I wasn't thinking of them in the way that you just explained. Like, you've sold me a bit on this because you've broken down how it works. It isn't as simple as just phrasing it.
You broke down how you broke down how it works. I just noticed it. Let's be clear here, because that's actually what just happened. Is that I pointed at a thing and you figured it out. I really had kind of a subconscious understanding of it working, but I didn't break down what was going on. You did that.
Oh.
Which is why you're sold on it, by the way, because you figured out why it works.
Because I thought of it.
Because you thought of it. Yeah. You're like, oh man, this does work now that I figured out why. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, and there is. I posted a link. It was just the first one on Google when I typed in determiner stuff. So I can't tell you it's the greatest link in the world. It's just an informational one. But one of the points at the top on it is about determiners being classified as adjectives. And that's the thing here, is that there's a really fine line between determiners and adjectives. And they can work together too. And that is that phrasing, this one weird trick. This one and weird all fall in this category of describing and elevating the trick. Think of virtually any other phrasing of a trick, and it's just not going to sound cool.
No.
Here's a trick. Well, okay, pass. Like,
right.
Even, one trick you need to know is softer.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. It indicates that there's something very important that you should know. But this one weird trick, well, that works for a reason. It's kind of like the CTA, you saying, this sucks, but why do people do it? Because it works. Well, this one weird trick phrasing, in a way, works. And Mr. Beast was the first one to really show you some weird tricks. I think this is pretty useful. I think it's really useful, actually.
Yeah, and one thing I would recommend to people, something that I do a lot, is look at other people's titles. Like, just go, like right now I'm just scrolling through, I'll do this with Veritasium. I'll do this with Tom Scott. I'm just scrolling through Tom's videos right now. It is an incredible resource for learning what works and what doesn't work. Just look at what works and what doesn't work for other people. It's right there. The data is all in front of you. So you could just scroll through Tom's channel like I'm doing right now. Look at the title, look at the views, look at the title, look at the views, notice some patterns, pick some things out. What worked well? What didn't work? This is the kind of like nerdy stuff that I really like, actually, about being a YouTube obsessed person.
I have a question for Kevin or the episode chat if he doesn't know. Where do you find the trending tab now on YouTube?
It's gone from the app. I think it still exists on desktop.
I'm on desktop.
Well, maybe it's gone from desktop too.
I don't know where. So if somebody, because I wanted to look there and see what the trending. Oh, there it is. So it's in the sidebar. You go down to explore. You really have to go out of your way to get it. It's not thrown right in front of you.
No one used it.
Yeah.
That's why they got rid of it.
I mean, it's mostly music stuff here. And Ted Lasso season 3 trailer, things like that.
It's not useful.
Yeah, no, these aren't, great. One that I like though is from Linus Tech Tips. I'm not stupid, and not is all capital letters, and that's it. That's a great title.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is just a different kind of content here. Yeah, this is weird. I haven't gone down trending in a long time. Operating a log forwarder. So logging machinery is making the trending tab. 33-minute video.
It's right up your alley.
Here's one. It's from 17 Magazine, which I assume Kevin still subscribes to.
Oh, yeah.
Tiger Beat. Does Tiger Beat still exist?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Do you want to hear it? Oh, it does.
Oh,
it does.
okay, there you go.
You want to hear a deep cut? Over 20 years ago, Tiger Beat had a ticker at the top, and it displayed messages from people. You could input a thing and have it go in the queue to scroll across the Tiger Beat website.
That's a bad idea.
And now this is just not something that could happen. But I asked somebody out using the Tiger Beat ticker. It was
wow.
I asked them on a date using the Tiger Beat ticker, and I forget how I was able to know the title, or not title, the timing. But yeah, I was able to send them a message, be like, go to Tiger Beat and watch the ticker for a little bit, and it worked.
Wow,
it was a good gimmick. I don't think you could do it twice, but it worked once. Anyway, 17 has one here. The cast of Outer Banks, which is a teen-based Netflix show, roasts each other for 6 minutes straight.
Mm-hmm.
That 6 minutes straight is the kind of thing that we're talking about. That's an intriguing way to lure people in, that it's like, this isn't people just hanging out and being funny, like hang out with the cast of Outer Banks for 5 minutes. It's like, no, they're going to roast each other for a long time, and that's not going to stop. You get 6 minutes of it. That's a decent title. Well, that's one reason it's on trending.
Yeah, the time thing is a thing. I mean, Michael did that with his prime numbers video. Michael says prime numbers for 3 hours. If that was just Michael says prime numbers, not as good of a title.
Nope.
For
the 3 hours is what does it.
That makes it interesting. That has 15 million views.
He actually does it.
Then he actually does it.
He actually says them for 3 hours.
For 3 hours. Yep.
Mr. Beast, Mr. Stevens pioneered this. Maybe not.
I don't know about that. Anyway, this was I'm so glad that we ended up doing the titles thing, because this was really productive. And look for some determiner titles coming to a vsauce 2 channel near you.
Yeah.
Sometime soon, because this is the way, at least for now, until people get sick of this, and then there's a new way, because that's how this works.
You know what I liked about this discussion at the end? This is exactly why we started the podcast in the first place, because we would talk about things like this, and then after it be like, it's kind of a shame that this is just done and nobody else can benefit from this. So us working through a problem in real time like that is truly, like 6 or 7 years ago, what was in our head with this podcast. And so I'm happy that we just got to do it.
Well, and this stuff is always changing. So that's why it's important to continue to have these conversations, because what works today will not work in 3 months. So that's the game that we play. All right. I think that's a good place to stop. We have the odd ones out next week, which will be great. Our first TCU guest with a Netflix show. So that will be very, very interesting to hear about that experience. I'm really looking forward to that. Go watch the new Mind Blow, everyone, and hit that like button. I'm gonna start saying that. I'm not gonna start saying that.
Smash that like button.
Yeah. Blow that like button. Do you like Mind Blow? Why don't you blow that like button so that people will watch it? All right. I really would like to end on blow that like button. We're out of here. We'll be back next week. See you, Space Cowboys.
Thanks for listening to The Create Unknown. We make this show with the support of our patrons. 100% of that goes directly to keeping episodes going every week, and the recent support has been amazing. Sidpoke, NRM, Venture Addicts, Weezer Good, you all really do make this show happen. Thank you to the Tots and Dumpster crew, old and new, who save tiny little lives every month. Thank you to our grizzled, battle-hardened child infantry. Clemente de los Santos, Dan the Latch, Demetrius Andrews, Erica, Farrakhan, Jen Mefasanti, Kevin Menard, Mikhail Steinke, Monahim, Natsu, Penny Peddler, Risebread, Ryan Kinder, Samuel Manser, Sean S., Sean Malone, and Tom Videoger. And a tremendous shout out to our elite baby gang commanders: Atrocious Guff, Kat, Dojangles, Graham Robertson, James Gallagher, Jeff Davis, Orange Vanilla Coke, Patrick Pister, TCU's personal pilot, Andy, Ryan Carroll, Baseweight, Vinthos, Yeetus Deletus, Jonas Walter, Nathan Robinson, Jelxies, and of course, Trevstead. You are the elite. Thank you as well to our indentured servants, producer-editor Ben Webster, Minecraft mogul Laterman, Discord kitten wrangler Conrad, and producer emeritus Dan Yoshua. Thanks to Baseweight for use of Created in the Unknown for the opening theme. Thanks to Electro Voice for giving us mics to sound good on top of it. And a special thanks to Main Gear for powering all of our PC endeavors. The Create Unknown is an Unknown Media production in partnership with Studio 71.